About 5 weeks ago, I purchased some ginger from my local store from the organic section, and I got some potting mix. I put this together in a couple of trays, one with holes, one with no holes. And 5 weeks later, here we are. The pieces have been sprouting nicely and they are ready to be put into bigger containers. Exactly on February the 3rd, I put these pieces of ginger here into this regular potting mix. And they had been in a warm room under my LED lights, and they had been sprouting. I believe there is only one piece here that didn't quite grow anything as much as the other. Some of these other guys are already like 3 inches tall. Look at that. Some of these are definitely huge, gigantic. They definitely need the extra room in bigger containers, in their own little containers, so that they can keep on growing, they can keep on developing the roots. And by the time that they are ready to be going outside, which will be by the time that we are no longer getting any freezes, then they can just develop into full healthy plants. And by the end of the season, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can harvest some ginger. This is my second year growing ginger, and last year it was very easy to grow it. This year I decided to definitely grow a bunch more. Before I try to separate these guys into their own little pieces, I am going to give them plenty of water, and this is just to make sure that I am separating the roots easily. In my experience, if you are trying to divide something when they are completely soaked in water, they are easier to do. Some of these don't have lots of roots, but they definitely have a nice sprout they're going. Wow, look at all those roots. All these right here are roots. They're just loaded with roots. That's a great sign. This is beautiful, just beautiful. Look at that. Sometimes you just kind of have to dig a little bit. Whoa, whoa. Look at that. This right here is a beautiful piece, and the roots are massive. And you guys, the smell of ginger, really nice. Look at that. Look at all those roots. Isn't that amazing? And there are some pieces that, even though they don't have a huge tall sprout like this one, all I care right now is that they are developing some roots like this little guy right here, and that tiny sprout is going to become a huge plant. Look at all those roots there. This is another great example over here where this piece has a lot of roots. There is barely showing some sprouts right there. Wow, this is nice. Just feels nice. Look at this piece. This is one piece that has roots on both sides, and it has sprouts on both sides as well. And I have a bunch of eyes coming through there. This is just beautiful, you guys. So, like I mentioned, I think there is only one tiny piece. Oh, actually, the piece that I was thinking that it was not going to work for me as far as sprouting is this guy right here. But look at the roots. Can you see all those roots already developing on the side? This is a great piece, so I'm definitely not gonna throw it away. So let me get the containers where these guys are going to go, and then we'll continue putting these in their little containers. The containers that I'm going to use for potting up the ginger that I have here are these containers that I found on Amazon. They are not my favorite. They are very flimsy, but these are a good size that I can find for potting up my ginger. And the thing is that these pieces of ginger are going to stay here for quite a while. They're going to keep on growing, they're going to keep on developing, so you can't really use something small where they're going to be running out of room quickly. You can, if you don't have any other choices right now, you can definitely put these guys maybe in a 2.5-inch container, but they're going to run out of space soon. So these containers right here are perfect for these sizes. And what I'm going to do is that I am going to be burying the piece of ginger at least an inch under the potting mix. So they'll be looking something like this. Remember, we only broke the pieces of ginger and put them right here on top of the soil. The potting mix was barely covering some of the sides of the ginger, only to sprout them, only to see which pieces were going to be viable for growing into bigger containers. But if you don't want to pre-sprout your ginger, you can just skip this part and jump right into containers. You can soak your ginger like we did in the first video that I show you, and if you missed that one, I'll put the link in the video's description. But we soaked the pieces for a few hours, and then we broke them and we put them in potting mix, just barely covering the few pieces. And we kept them in a warm room underneath my LED lights, and we just gave them water, a little bit of water, because if we give them too much water when they're pre-sprouting, we can definitely damage the pieces of ginger. If you just want to skip all of that, you can just break the pieces and put them straight into something big, something where you don't have to worry if they're not going to be able to make it. The reason why I like to do this, because these guys have already been here for 5 weeks, and right about now you start seeing fungus gnats, you start seeing some things developing on the soil because it's a warm room, the soil is going to be wet for a long time, so things are going to start happening. If at this point you move the pieces into fresh, clean soil, then you kind of start over from that point. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So anyway, that's my reasoning behind pre-sprouting things, seeing if they're viable, seeing if they will work for me, and then moving them later when they're this big into something this big. So what I'm going to use is I am going to use regular potting mix, whatever I could find at my local store. I already added a little bit of water to my potting mix because I do not like to work with really dry medium. I am not keeping it soaking wet, but I definitely keep it somewhat humid so that I can be moving it around and I don't have to breathe all of that. But also, what I have found is that if I start with dry, very dry soil, by the time that I water, when everything is put together, they can kind of sink and settle and just kind of mess things around. For me anyways. If you are wondering, Roxana, why are you showing us how to put potting mix into a container? I mean, we know how to do that, right? But there's a lot of you that are new this year for everything gardening. And I noticed that because I have gotten a lot of messages from you guys that are first time doing this, first time doing something else. And if you are anything like me, I am a visual learner. So I definitely learn better by watching people do things instead of them just talking or mentioning things about it. So if you consider yourself a experienced gardener that, knows how to do this, then just forward the video and then you're totally fine. I promise you will not hurt my feelings. All right, so here's the potting mix that I have. Like I mentioned, this is potting mix that I already added a little bit of water. How much? Just enough so that it's not completely dry. If I was working with dry medium, I couldn't be doing this because all of the stuff will be going everywhere. So I am just going to put some in this container. And even though the medium is a little bit wet, it has a little bit of moisture on it, I am just going to just very gently press this down, just once or twice, just to make sure that I don't have any air spots in there, so that when I water, everything is just not going to collapse. And I am probably adding potting mix right about this much. And the reason behind that is because whenever I take my piece, like this one, and I put it in here, nicely and secure. I want to make sure that I have enough room. I want to make sure that I have enough room here to cover at least an inch with the potting mix, but I still have enough room over here before I reach the top, so that if I need to water from the top, I don't have to, the water is just going to overflow and get out. I learned that the first year when I did this, guys. I literally cover everything to the limit of the top of this container, and whenever I wanted to water on top because I was running out of time or I didn't really have time to do anything else, that was quite a mess. But this right here, and that is perfect. I have my piece of ginger nice and cozy in there. I have plenty of space here so that when I water from the top, whenever I am in a hurry and I just need to give them a little bit of moisture, then I don't have to worry about them spilling all over the place. Here's another one. For this piece right here, because it's a little bit too long and it will not fit nicely in there. It will fit, but it will be really, really tight. What I'm going to do is that I'm just going to remove that, and I am still gonna place it there, but I'm just going to have it sideways like that, next to the other one, and it will be fine. My beautiful, beautiful ginger sprouts are ready to keep on growing, keep on developing their roots, their leaves. The leaves, I find that once they start growing, they're looking a little bit wonky, and they did the same thing for me last year. I am absolutely not worried about it. I know they're going to grow into beautiful, beautiful plants, and once they are taken outside in the warm, loving weather, they're just going to go strong. I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. I know that a lot of you are studying ginger for the first time this year and have a lot of questions, and I hope that this video maybe answer a few of them. These guys are going to go under my LED lights in one of my shelves, but at some point they're just going to keep on growing and they're going to be way too tall. And by that point, I'll just move them on the floor close to the LED lights, and that's plenty of light that they'll need. As I mentioned, these guys will multiply and there'll be plenty for feeding multiple families. I only probably going to keep about 4 of these plants, and the rest are going to go to my family because they also love ginger. Fingers crossed, you guys. Fingers crossed that these guys keep on developing, and by the end of the season, I can show you how beautiful and how easy it is to grow ginger at home. Thank you for being here, and until the next time.